whole lot of loving is what we'll be bringing. We'll make you happy.
Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Schools with Heart. I'm Olivia LaField and proud of it. And I'm here today in this special episode with a great story that I want to share with you. A story, an end of the year highlight story that I will never forget, nor will my students. So before I tell you that story, I want to give you a little information to help you understand what I do at school, what's my position, and how can I reach out to 2nd through 8th grade in one day. So here's the deal. Last year, not this past year, but the year before, my principal and I decided that I needed to give up my classroom, which I, for 47 years have had my own classroom, and begin to rotate from one class to the next, so that I could access the little ones, including, I'd always just done middle school focus and never really wanted to target the little ones. But during Zoom, I had so much fun with the little ones, the 2nd, 3rd graders and 4th graders, that I decided I love the little kids. For the first time ever, I'm like, they're awesome, they're so fun. And so we changed my arrangement, and I begin the morning with the 5th and 6th graders, then I rotate to the 7th and 8th grade, then I hit the 2nd and 3rd graders, then I go to the 3rd and 4th graders, and then there's lunch, and after lunch, it's awesome after lunch. I get to meet one-on-one, like when we get a new student, I can just go in the library, my office is in the library, and I can just meet with that student one-on-one and get to know them and let them know what our culture's like. And when there are problems, the teachers say, will you talk to this or that student, and so I can connect on a personal, individual, intimate level after lunch. Plus I do other things, there's always something, bulletin boards, etc. Anyway, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to hit basic. I don't do K1. And you might be thinking, well, why isn't she talking about kindergarten and 1st grade? And I just, for one thing, it's a time element. But more than that, I went there a couple times, and they just seemed, they were so squirrely. The truth is, they had a hard time sitting still and listening and responding. And so I just thought, well, I could read them stories, that's for sure. I could be doing that. Maybe I will next year, do more storytelling. But in the meantime, I walked away and I said, well, that didn't work, because my lessons are interactive. They're like, I ask questions, the kids answer, they think, they come up with their own conclusions, and the little ones were just too young for that. But anyway, so reflecting right now as I do this live video, I could read stories next year, and I'm going to do it. Okay, and so now I'm going to tell you this great story that will go down through the annals of history in my 4th book, which I'm starting to write. I'll be telling you about that soon. But here's my story. So the 2nd and 3rd graders, I just adore them. They are so alive and so positive, and I walk into their class and it's like, yay, Miss LaField's here, happy day. It's just happy. It's a happy place. And so one day, about a month ago, the PE teacher came to me and said in the morning, Olivia, we have a really big problem with the 2nd and 3rd grade class. And I was like taken aback. I said, really? Because I think they're perfect. What? I've never seen a problem in that class. And so he said, well, the problem is that you don't see them line up during the day. And you know how kids line up for recess and lunch and PE, and 7 or 8 times a day they're in a line. And he said, when they get in that line, they become like different creatures. And the librarian who was sitting there and overheard the conversation jumped up and said, that is so true. I subbed in that class the other day, and they were just pushing and shoving and crying and me first, all over the place. And I'd never seen it the whole year. I never saw that once, or I would have addressed it. So he said, Olivia, will you talk to them? And we need help with this. So I had about an hour to think about what that lesson would be. But what ended up happening was these ideas just come to me. I just love how they just like, well, I'll try this. I went into the 5th and 6th grade room, and in that room, a couple years ago, I made the greatest bulletin board for them. And at the top it says right heart. It's really huge. It's a huge bulletin board. And I made about 12 hearts about this big. I wish I brought it home to show you. But anyway, a red heart. And in the middle of that red heart is a word on. So I wanted to absolutely make sure the kids know, what is a right heart? What are the attributes of a right heart? So I would write brave. A right heart is brave. A right heart is thankful, is grateful. A right heart is obedient. A right heart is truthful, and so on and so on. So there's 12 of them. And one of them says humble. A right heart is humble. And that is the only word. For all the years that I've tried to teach humility, I've never really succeeded. I would honestly say, until this story that I'm telling you right now, I always told the kids, when I would go back to the right heart board once in a while, I would say, what is the one thing I'm working on the most, kids? And they knew it. It's humble. Miss LaField's, that's her number one priority, is humility. And but I never had a real clear way of conveying what that meant. Humble, humility, what is that? But on this particular day with the little ones, I achieved it. It was like a miracle. So I took that heart off of the board because it was just stapled on, and I walked into the 2nd grade, 3rd grade room with it turned so that the kids could not see the word humble. So I sat. They're always ready for me, and they have these cute little benches that they make them in a circle, and I'm right here, and there's benches all around me, and they're like, I want to sit next to Miss LaField, and so I have a student on either side of me. We're just in a little huddle. It is the sweetest thing. So we're close proximity, and I can really connect with them on a heart level. So I said, kids, on the back of this heart is a word that you do not know the meaning of, but I'm going to explain to you today what this very important word is. And I said, and this word is my grit goal word. It's the goal that I work on more than any others in my whole life. I did the anticipatory set. I wanted them to get really excited about what word is Miss LaField's working on more than any other. But I said, but we're going to hold off on this. But for right now, I have a question. I said, I heard that there are times in this class where you all have a problem. And it was really quiet, and that wasn't enough for them to understand what I was talking about. So I said, the problem is that sometimes you fight, you suffer with each other, you argue. Is that true? And Verona just raised her hand, and she said, Miss LaField, when we line up, you would be ashamed. You would be ashamed of us. We're pushing and shoving and crying. And she said, Miss LaField, I'm so tired of it. And everybody was really listening. And I was like, wow, Verona, thank you. And I said, raise your hand if you agree with what Verona just said. And every hand went up. And 2 hands went up. So there we have it, buy-in. The truth is, and I was holding up the truth rock. Yay! I made a truth rock for every teacher in our school. Here's my truth rock. I just love it. You have to have a truth rock. Every teacher needs a truth rock. Anyway, I was holding it up. The truth is, we fight all the time, every time we get in line. She said, help, Miss LaField. You have to show us how to stop this. And so, I'm like, my next question, kids, I said, why do you fight when you get in line? What changes from the time that you're sitting here helping each other and being sweethearts till you get in that line? What happens? And they were stumped. It was like long seconds of silence. And I always sit there and I wait. I wait for them to think. You have got to give kids time to think. And so many teachers just come right out with the answer. So I gave them plenty of time, and finally, one of them said, I know, Miss LaField, it's because some people think they're more important than other people. And I said, that is right. They think they're better, that they should be in line in front of you because they're more important than you are. So then I got buy-in on that. Who agrees that that is the reason that people fight in line? We all want to be first. Me first, me first. Everybody's in agreement. It's all about, I'm in front of you, you get in back of me, and no, you're not, I'm going to be in front of you, and we're all fighting. And so, all of that took probably 10 minutes of talking, of interactive discussion on what the problem is and why we have this problem. And now we're going to talk about how to solve this problem. So I said, who thinks that I have a plan for how to stop this problem? And everyone's like, we know you can do it, Miss LaField. How are we going to stop? And I held up my heart and I said, you see this word, humble? I told them how I took it off the wall. They've never been in the 5th and 6th grade classroom, so they've never seen that bulletin board. I told them how I took it off the wall of the 5th and 6th grade, and that it's my most important word that I work on more than any other, to have a right heart. And I said, the reason that you fight in line is because you're not humble. And I'm going to tell you today what that means. What is humble anyway? Are you ready for this, kids? Get ready to listen. Humble people don't have to be first in line. Humble people are happy to let other people go in front of them. Humble people can be last in line, and they don't care. Humble people are not all about me and what I want. Humble people create happiness. You see, happiness is our focus at the school where I work. Happiness. It's either choose happiness or suffering. And so when you are not humble, you create suffering in the form of arguing with others. But when you're willing to say, you can go before me, you can, like when you learn to drive someday, humble people stop and let other people go in front of them. They wait. They say, go ahead, you go in front of me. Humble people don't have to be famous. They don't have to have the spotlight on them. They can just be in the background, being givers and lovers and creators of happiness. And so I said, so we're not born humble, kids. I said, when you're a baby, you're the opposite. You're all about me. Babies have to be. I'm wet, I'm hungry, I'm screaming, I want more food, I want this or that. We're born the opposite of humble. But some people never grow out of it. So I said, so now the focus is for you to understand that you need to set a major life-changing goal to be a humble person. And so I said, so just about that time, the PE teacher walked in. Yes, I was finished. I was pretty much finished with the discussion, and I leaned forward, and he goes to the back of the room and waits for me to finish. So I knew he couldn't hear what I was whispering. I said, okay, Mr. Will is here, and I'm going to watch you be humble. I'm going to watch you humbly line up for Mr. Will. Ready? And I released them. I wish I had a video of what happened next. They were excited. They were excited to let others go in front of them. They were like backing up, and I started crying. Yes, I did. Tears were just rolling down my cheeks. Blowing them kisses. They're looking at me. They're all looking at me going, Miss LaField's watching. And so then they were all lined up, perfectly looking straight ahead, and the PE teacher, Mr. Will, gets in front of him and goes, wow. He's like blown away. He did not hear this whole lesson with the kids. He did not know what I said to them. But what he did know was that was the first time ever that they were beautiful, and they were beautiful. It was amazing. It was like, this is a miracle. This is a miracle, these moments. And my hope was that it would last, right? And so, for the rest of the day, that was a Tuesday, I checked in once in a while, and everybody was like, "We're being so humble in line, Miss LaField." I left that heart. I taped it on the wall right where they line up so that they could keep seeing that word humble. I'll make a new one. I'll make one just for them and put the other one to back to the 5th and 6th grade. But anyway, so the rest of the day they were perfect. So on Friday, 4 days later, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I came into the cafeteria before school started, and several of them came running up to me saying, Miss LaField, they were so excited. They said, "We have not had one fight all week. We've been humble except for Danny. Danny's not humble yet, Miss LaField." But I said, "But you can help him. You're going to help Danny learn humility." So that was about a month ago. Yes, let's see, Friday, which was a few days ago, it was the last day of school, and I was saying goodbye to all of them. One of them said, "Miss LaField, ever since you came in for that lesson, we have been humble in line. We haven't had one fight, not one fight." And so, my friends, that is my story of how one lesson can change the hearts of kids. But you have to know, I've known these kids for a year, and I've made a strong connection with them, and they love me. We love each other, and so they're willing to listen to me. They want to please me. And so I could never have done that lesson the first week of school and seen the rewards that we saw. It just, you have to, something like that happens after you have the trust and the love established. So, regardless, I mean, that's just kind of a, what would the word be? I can't think of the word. It's a disclaimer. Yeah, that would be a disclaimer that, yes, it was a miracle, but I had established all these good things with them, or it wouldn't have happened. So you have to know that with social emotional learning, for these lessons to be powerful and life-changing, you have to have a connection with the kids. There has to be a deep level of trust where they love you and they want to listen to you. And that takes time. But oh, is it worth it? It is so worth it. It makes me want to wake up in the morning and be with them, and just so happy. So I hope that inspired you today, and that you can take the word humble and you can now say it's about when you're about others and not all about me. We all have to work on that, don't we? Every day of our lives. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.